My name is Kristen Blaze. My guest today is my grandmother, Virginia. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Can you please say your full name?
Virginia Ann Blaze.
Alrighty. When and where were you born?
I was born in Providence, in Providence, in South Providence, at I think it was St. Joseph's Hospital.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And do you have any siblings?
Yes, I have one sibling, a sister, a younger sister, 5 years younger than I am.
Okay. So you lived with your parents and your sister, but were there any other family members in the area or that lived with you?
They didn't live with us, but there were some aunts and uncles that lived in the area.
Okay. And do you have any chores that you were responsible for at home?
Oh, yes. We had to, when my father was working and he liked his tea, and when I got out of school every day, I used to have to go right home and make a pot of tea for my father.
You got in trouble.
And I used to have to sweep down the front stairs, and he was pretty sick, so one of the other things I had to do was go down into the cellar and carry up a gallon of oil to put in the stove.
Oh my God. What's your favorite thing to do, like, as a teenager when you were growing up?
Oh, the most important thing was going to the movies. We went to double features on Saturday, and we used to go out to Roger Williams Park, ice skating. And
did you ever get in trouble for anything you did as a teenager?
Yeah. When I was going to high school, I bunked school one day with my couple of friends of mine, and we went to the movies. And when I got home that night, my father said, "Well, how was school today?" I said, "Oh, it was great." He said, "Well, your guidance counselor called and said you weren't there."
Were there any, like, major events when you were growing up that had a major impact on your home life and stuff like that?
Well, yeah, we had that hurricane in, was it 1937, was it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that pretty. I was coming home from school and it was blowing all around the place, and
Oh my goodness.
it was pretty traumatic.
What about the Great Depression? How did that affect you?
Well, my father only worked 3 days, and we didn't always have, a lot of food. And I remember having to go to the neighborhood grocery store and have to charge what we got and then pay at the end of the week, and I didn't like that very much.
So what did you typically, I remember you told me a story one time about how you guys would have to get by on some things that weren't necessarily a whole meal. So what was some of the things you used to eat?
Ketchup sandwiches and mustard sandwiches we used to have.
Well, I got to do what
to
you
kind
got to
of
do.
fill in.
I know you got married fairly young. What was the name of your spouse?
Robert J. Blaze.
Okay. And how did you guys meet?
I met him in a business that I was working at a Christmas party. They had a Christmas party, and he had just started to work there too. And he came over and talked to me, and he said, "Hey, Red, what are you doing New Year's Eve?" And I said, "Don't call me Red."
So what did you guys typically do for, like, a regular date, like on a weekend?
Oh, we'd go bowling or ice skating at the park, or a lot of times we'd jump in the car and go to see the Red Sox, because in those days you could get tickets and they weren't very expensive.
Do you remember how much you had to pay for those tickets?
No, I don't remember how much we paid.
Cheaper than today, though.
Yeah, very much.
How did his parents and your parents react to you two dating? I know there was a little bit of tension there.
Yeah, a little bit, because I was Irish and he was French, and usually in those days the French married the French and the Irish married the Irish, but eventually we worked that all out.
What was it like when he proposed to you?
Oh, well, he had this little sedan car, just a two-seater with a rumble seat, and he came after me on Valentine's Day, and we rode out to Roger Williams Park in a snowstorm, and he gave me a diamond then.
So where and when did you get married?
We got married in October 1950 in St. Joseph's Church in Natick. We went to my church, which was St. Michael's in South Providence, but they were all booked up right through to October. So we had to get a special dispensation from the bishop to get married in a different church. So we got married in his church.
So what stands out for you the most from your wedding day?
Oh, the heat. It was very, 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 very hot. And all my bridesmaids had on these satin gowns, and oh, it was terrible. But I mean, it was a good day.
Okay. And I know you've told me the story a couple of times about you didn't have a really typical honeymoon and it was a little bit crazy for you. Do you want to explain to me a little bit about what happened when you picked up some extra guests on your honeymoon?
Oh, yes. We were we were in New York in the Thousand Islands, I think. And we met up with this other couple who were French. They were from Canada. And the both of them spoke French. And, like, of course, my husband spoke French, but I didn't. So he was always doing things for people. So they were going to have to find a ride back to Canada. So he said, well, come with us. And so all the way to Canada, they talked French, and I just listened.
I had no idea what they were saying.
No idea what they were saying.
So how would you describe your spouse? What were his characteristics like?
Oh, he was honest and always doing things for people, and just pretty cute.
What did you admire most about him?
I think probably his honesty and his faith. He had a lot of faith.
Okay. How many children did you end up having?
I had 8 children.
Wow. And in what period of time?
From 1952 to 1963.
So 8 kids in 11 years.
Yeah.
And what are their names?
Okay. Charlene, Marjorie, Peter, Robbie, Diane, Stephen, Jackie, and Danny.
Okay. And what did your family, like when you guys were growing up and raising your kids, what did you guys like to do together? Did you go on trips? Or?
Yeah, we went a lot of camping in the summer times.
Okay.
Yep. The kids loved that.
That must have been hard.
Yeah, it was a lot of work. But when you got away from everything, the phone and everything, it was worth it.
So is there anything that you would give advice to young people today to try and like live up to, or qualities that you would want them to have to be able to make it through the tough times?
I don't know. Just, try to be as good as you can to your children, and help out when you can, and treat them, instruct them to be honest and good.
Okay. So if you had to describe like the typical American dream, or what yours is personally, what would you kind of describe that as?
That my children are healthy, and that they, have pretty good jobs and love their kids, and that's about it.
All right, simple but to the point, and it makes sense. So I'd like to thank you for coming today. That's going to wrap it up. That's all the questions I have. Thank you for my grandmother for sharing her stories with us today, and we'll see you next time.
Okay.